Don't you want to just get away from it all? I certainly do. It's been ages since I've ridden a plane somewhere with the express intent of vacation and relaxation. Being a man who minors in agoraphobia and majors in antisocial tendencies, I'm always slightly skeptical of the supposed restorative benefits of these trips away from the carefully curated everyday. But still, even for a guy like me, tropical beaches and floral patterned shirts carry an almost intrinsic nostalgia that I can't shake. It's built into my cultural DNA. The idea of even modest personal prosperity surely must at least afford you a beach episode every season. Which, of course, is becoming less and less true. I don't know about you, but the other day I saw a regular-sized bag of potato chips on the shelf priced at 7 whole American doll hairs with no sense of irony or punchline on the package. I hate to say it, but $15 is starting to feel like the new 5, and we can't even get started on 100 because, folks, it's really looking like that's the new 40. And it seems like that's just the way things are going to keep going until, I guess, we all just kill ourselves. So, whatever, I guess. That's probably why I like the White Lotus so much. It's like a built-in yearly vacation, and it's probably as good as I'll ever get to actually going there. And like I said, I'm a borderline antisocial shut-in, so that works for me just fine. I'd rather watch anyways. Animal Crossing New Horizons bills itself on the idea of vacation. It's been so long since I've experienced the beginning of this game that I kind of forgot about the framing device. There's a bit of flat comedy in the promise of its deserted island getaway package, a glimpse into the deadpan cynicism that serves as one of the core frictions of this game. But even as I check in with the 2 young nooklings to book my trip, I feel a bit of remembered giddiness and forget myself. I had completely forgotten about the in-flight movie that functions as this game's intro. It offers glimpses at the core appeal of the series, little scenes of nature and tenderly placed community. But there's a gut-wrenching feeling in the pit of my stomach as I come to terms with what this intro evokes. In the 6 years since I first watched it, me and the world are radically different, and I feel homesick over just about all of it. I blacked out much of New Horizons' early game on the first go-round. As we'll address in more depth later, it came out at a time when I was ravenous for its soft escape, and so I chewed through much of its offering without bothering to really notice any of the nuances. And so starting over for the first time, New Horizons feels like playing a brand new game as I approach it with a more patient understanding. It's good that it feels brand new. There actually aren't very many Animal Crossing games. Animal Crossing for the GameCube is basically a port of Japan's Animal Forest, which, despite having many versions, I still see them all as fundamentally the same entry. The DS saw the release of Wild World, and for all intents and purposes, City Folk for the Wii is a gussied-up remake of that. Otherwise, for main series entries, all you have left are New Leaf for the 3DS, Pocket Camp for mobile devices, and now New Horizons for the Switch. That's basically 5 main entries since the game's original release in 2001, and if that trend continues, I imagine we won't see a truly new Animal Crossing game for a long time. Especially since New Horizons 3.0 update and Switch 2 upgrade could be seen as a definitive edition, so to speak. Starting again from scratch, that's how I find myself treating it. Because Animal Crossing's design relies so heavily on buying into the reality of its pop-up book world, it can feel almost like an act of malice to delete your island just so you can experience the game with a fresh set of eyes. Not many games evoke this feeling. It's tough to balance manipulating player emotions in this kind of way. Honestly, I think the scale is still tipped a little too heavily in favor of never deleting your save file. If I hadn't had the motivating factor of its new update and an idea for my burgeoning YouTube channel, I don't know if I would have ever deleted my old town. The grim prediction I made in my last video that this update would inspire a few weeks of reinvigorated activity before I completely forgot about New Horizons again would have likely come true. I think if any of that made you feel any particular way, I'm going to use the opportunity now to encourage you to delete your old island. I think New Horizons is owed a fresh look. Moving away and letting go is a core theme of the series, so while I think it's supposed to feel complicated and a little sad, it's what I needed to really crystallize my feelings on this entry, and I'm inclined to think that might be true for some of you as well. Luckily, New Horizons softens the blow. I'm glad that this time the game doesn't make you look Tom Nook in the eyes while you do it. It's an odd kindness that I can pull my island out behind the shed in the Switch's data management menu to put it down. Because of the series' deeply iterative design and sporadic releases, the beginning of each new entry has the tough job of setting a unique tone for the many new life to come. In the early games, we are characterized as scrappy youths moving away for the first time, with little plan and even less money, often needing a leg up from kind strangers. The life before we moved into our new sleepy village always being hinted at, but never in any kind of focus, new beginnings ever being the task at hand. This coming-of-age angle is slowly softened as the series has progressed. In fact, this softening is a major player in New Horizons' great strength and obvious weakness. But the fantasy of making it in a new town is absent, and instead is the fantasy of a getaway. Escaping to an island getaway is no less an adult fantasy than moving to a new town, I suppose, and it seems that Mr. Nook's vacation package is exactly what it says on the tin. The island is deserted, shockingly so. This presents the play space as a near barren blank slate. Unlike the towns you would move into in previous entries, there is no pre-established village to ingratiate yourself into. Community is something that you have to build in this game. The facade of vacation quickly fades even in the opening minutes. There is work to be done, and lots of it, more than you could possibly imagine. While I don't think this world is really built to withstand the pressure of too thorough an examination of its rules, it's impossible not to see Tom Nook's crassness displayed nakedly in this one. The name of the game this time is Do It Yourself, right down to handpicking every last tile of your new home. No island resort awaits us on our pricey vacation. Only a tent, a list of chores, and the bill. The good news is you can't ever feel too taken advantage of. The work is joyful to do, though Mr. Nook is always there with an open palm to charge us for the pleasure of doing it. In an interview with CNET, New Horizons producer rightfully cites Tom Nook as the key tool in motivating the player in Animal Crossing, and his unavoidable loans are hard to see as anything other than lightly oppressive. This is both intent and boon, as I've come to realize these financial roadblocks are absolutely necessary both for pacing and for flavor. With a vacation company, a booming land development business, running Cozy Core Amazon, and a chain of stores he doesn't step foot in himself anymore, there is a silent story being told of Tom's capitalistic rise. I can't quite villainize him though. He is kind, and his ambitions never seem to raise his station beyond getting sloppy at work with the hot blonde. And yet, even as you reach the late game, arranging to sell his own land for him still asks us to pay him a fee. That same interview goes on to characterize Nook as particularly softened in New Horizons. I think he is clearly more doting. He's a gentle father figure whose guiding presence makes the setting structured and the goalposts clear. And more importantly, he offers us an often overlooked ingredient necessary for paradise: someone to grouse about. Because let's face it, interest-free loans or not, fresh off of a misleading plane ride, Mr. Nook is quick to calculate our bill, quick to put us in debt, and even quicker to introduce us to Nook Miles, the new company dollar he's invented as a secondary currency for the game. Much of the menuing is smartly disguised with the Nook phone, which he wryly tells us is easy to use thanks to its absence of features, which, again, he is excited to sell us later on. Here, the typical daily tasks such as bug catching and flower tending are incentivized and gamified in a way quite reminiscent of Pocket Camp, with these tasks now affording you that aforementioned second currency. I've gone on about missing a more directed campaign in Nintendo games, and New Horizons adds a surprising amount of direction through these structured tasks and its overtly directed campaign. More than any of Nintendo's other tentpole franchises, Animal Crossing has always been about making your own way with self-motivated play, so it's interesting to see that such a guiding hand is now present in New Horizons' design where it's been removed in other titles. Not only are those Nook Miles tasks a subtle way of tutorializing the player on the basic mechanics of Animal Crossing, mechanics that are secondary and obvious to a lifelong player like me, but it also works as a long-term solution to the boredom that can inevitably arise with open-ended sandbox play. I really am reminded of Pocket Camp's daily tasks, ones I've praised almost begrudgingly for finding a way to encourage me to keep catching bugs long after the novelty would have faded. It's a bit cheap, and in some ways it directly contradicts Animal Crossing's laid-back thesis statement, having constant notifications on tasks completed, and the subconscious effect of having your villager always on that damn phone is both comical and grim. The cadence set by these Nook Miles tasks seems to be one informed by the looming shadow of the broader design principle guiding many modern iterations of Nintendo titles. A constant jingling of keys to keep the player buzzing about the open space from task to task with constant positive feedback. But this kind of tasking feels oddly right with Animal Crossing. It's a way to reward what you were already going to do, but I can't help but feel a little icked out that the smartphone is the abstraction that personifies this new gameplay loop. One structured for an age with an ever-shortening attention span. Still though, I think it's overall a value add. It's that straight-faced cynicism again, and like with the non-negotiable debts to big capital, Animal Crossing is at its best for me when it's calmly and cutely lampooning our real world's grimmer realities. I'm coming into New Horizons with a few important lessons I learned as I took my journey through Pocket Camp last year. a journey that I covered quite extensively in a previous video on this channel, and I suppose that makes this one part of a broader series I'm making on Animal Crossing. That video will add context, so if you haven't seen that one, it wouldn't hurt to check it out, but to put it simply, I realize that I've been approaching playing these games wrong for a long time. Essentially the whole time, if I'm being perfectly honest. The series was young when I was young, and now we're both old, and I spent all of it worried about reaching some arbitrary completion state in a game that doesn't really have one by design. I reached pretty hard to find a point beyond personal anecdote to what the process of playing and completing represented in Pocket Camp, and by wringing all the blood I could from that stone, I'm honestly, by comparison, left impressed with the shape of New Horizons, especially in this early game. This game plays with holding in a way tantalizing and fresh, offering structure in a way that can feel like the arbitrary rules of a strict but knowing parent. When I reminisce on New Horizons, so often the first word that comes to my mind is arbitrary. That feels like a sacred word with Animal Crossing's design. Annoying and baffling and, well, arbitrary decisions that spark endless discussion, and I think end up making the experiences feel all the more real and remembered all these years later. This sounds an awful lot like trying to spin flaws into features and negatives into positives, and yeah, of course, I think that has to be a little part of it. I think could be thought of as the point of a life sim. But don't confuse this for me saying that New Horizons is without flaw. Tools shouldn't break. At least not forever. I'm already encouraged to exhaust my island for resources, to craft DIY furniture and make the flimsy tools until I can eventually learn the recipe for the regular tools, which do still break and break far sooner than you'd think they should, but still, okay. At this point in the game, you're still deep in the process of crafting your fully settled island. I understand still wanting to evoke the feeling of hoofing it, but it's important to note that tools have never been treated this way in Animal Crossing. For all the irksome kinks that have been ironed out throughout the years, tools never used to break. Well, the axe did, but that was to discourage players from deforesting their towns without cost, and even that had an indicator for when it was close to breaking, a feature now absent in New Horizons. Otherwise, the only thing stopping you from fishing all night was inventory space and patience. This makes tasking both hyper-incentivized and heavily discouraged in New Horizons. All tools that aid in resource gathering inevitably fall apart in your hands. After 20 years without this consequence, it can only feel like a punishment, but I'm open-minded to the change at least. It does certainly change the tone. It asks the player to be more mindful and a little more patient, and I think at least on some level I agree with its place in the early game, but once the player has mastered New Horizons to the point of unlocking the golden tools, they've proven their patience. Why oh why do those break too? The story being told through your weapons breaking in the Wild Era Zelda games felt obvious too. Every fragile sword being an obvious stopgap till I got my hands on the sword. I understood in some way that the weapons breaking before I got there was working towards the narrative payoff of making my blade and my hands feel all the more divine, and yet the same practical joke plays out there too. The master of all swords being just as fragile as the rest. Similarly, I struggle to understand how this as permanent gameplay fixture could do anything to improve the experience of New Horizons. All it does is ensure I never touch my golden tools once I finally get them. The punishment isn't too severe, all things considered, and New Horizons' final update finally allows you to craft more than one item at a time, pulling resources from your home storage, so if you're mindful with how many uses you can get out of a tool, you can always run and customize it to refresh its durability. Analytically, it's interesting, but I can confidently bet that the amount of players who enjoy constantly recrafting broken tools is a whopping 0.0%, period. And this is coming from somebody who's in the 1% of people who even feel like this system is worth the goodwill of trying to see where it's coming from. Crafting from storage and bulk crafting really aren't fixes per se for the core issues here, but they change the way I engage with the game enough that it makes those previous headaches easier to ignore. I'm a little shocked that these changes were even implemented. It's a rare, bashful acknowledgement that not all of their seemingly arbitrary design decisions actually are in service of conveying something meaningful. But some of them are in service of that. When I first started my town in 2020, I was consistently annoyed with New Horizons. Frustrated that it made me wait what felt like agonizing aeons to unlock features that were always available from the start. Animal Crossing is, more than anything, a daily check-in game. Especially at the start, there's only so much checking in you can do in any given day, only so much progress you can make towards settling. There aren't even any physical stores to browse, a maximum of 2 villagers at first, so there aren't all that many people to talk to either. Without a ladder or vaulting pole, the limiting early game makes exploring your island in full an impossibility. This, of course, I came prepared for. With my newfound resolve to approach this game with patience and curiosity, I forbid myself from messing with the flow of time. I could wrench the days forward manually to force my town into a completed state quicker, and trust me, as I've been hard at work preparing it for all of you, I've been sorely tempted to do just that, but I'll just say outright that I think that this is antithetical to the intended experience. It's by no means a moral failing if you do engage with the game in this way, far be it from me to tell you how to have fun, but it's a personal position that I hold myself to staunchly. That isn't to say I haven't given myself a leg up, of course. When New Leaf rolled out its final Welcome Amiibo update, it included extra incentive to restart, with Tom Nook tallying up your island's worth and paying you that sum to start your new life with. New Horizons has no such feature, even though I think it would do wonders in getting people to re-engage, so I made do in my own way. Before I wiped my previous save, I left myself a small fortune and a handful of tools to make the early days slightly easier. This circumvented some of those limiting frustrations. There is still a surprising lack of daily stuff to do, even with getting to bound over the rivers and up the cliffs early, but even that little morsel feels like a little extra sneaky treat. With a fully settled island, there is so much you take for granted. Animal Crossing is always trying to find clever ways to make you excited by routine, and approaching it with patient surprise instead of expectation, I felt a small little glow of warmth when it finally came time to help Timmy and Tommy construct the shop. There is a genuine feeling of earned progress as your island slowly takes its shape. I don't know if I could appreciate it quite in this way if I weren't taking footage. Even now, a month and some change into this new playthrough, I'm already nostalgic looking over these old clips. It's like a simulated baby picture seeing what the vista behind Town Hall used to look like. I'd already forgotten that my fortress didn't always dominate the landscape. I know that eventually the shop will upgrade to its more prominent form, but it's almost a badge of honor that mine hasn't gotten there yet. Since I've started recording footage of my playthroughs of video games, I've gotten a new appreciation for how non-static things can be. How much permanently changes without conscious notice. Cutscenes only play the first time. Areas can change completely, events missable. And there will come a time when my shop isn't a little tin-roofed shanty. And instead of feeling frustrated that I don't already have access to a wider array of items, I appreciate it. This kind of gratitude by proxy is another strength of a life sim. Now, my need for a fitting avatar was, of course, sated early by my little schemes. Oh, how I hate not looking exactly as I wish. So I didn't loathe the absence of the Able Sisters clothing shop in quite the same way as I did in my first playthrough, but I really did loathe not having it in that one. It's a privilege to never want for any way to represent myself in a game. All it takes is a short haircut and a pair of glasses to do the trick, but New Horizons somehow beats the odds and has my overrepresented ass spoiled in full. Who knew they had the slightly balding white guy who needs a haircut? That's literally me. Getting to build a permanent clothing shop requires 2 visits from Mabel, and every day on my first island I would sprint to the plaza first thing to see if she was there, annoyed and frustrated every time she wasn't. I can appreciate why this is the case, of course. Part of the small thrill of daily village life is the surprise of a special villager, and, well, I can't say that seeing Sable ever particularly delighted me before. I took her and her clothes shop for granted. But now that the game is withholding, now that it's a few weeks before I have access to it, that hard-to-keep honeymoon period is extended just that little bit longer. The juice all the sweeter for having to wait for it. And when the time comes for the perfect little tailor to find its perfect little place in my perfect little street, the final reward of a perfect little tableau is all the more satisfying. No tableau is ever fully finished, though, and that really is a blessing. Remembering that the playing and the fussing and the fiddling is the joy, I find myself so much more relaxed at the process of filling my new home. Speaking of, I was surprised at the little squeal of joy I let out when my darling Isabel finally came to work. Ever the comfortable civic worker, she only takes over as town MC once resident services is a proper town hall instead of a shabby tent. It's easy to take these kinds of little things for granted. After all, she's just a silly little dog, and I'm a bit ashamed of how easy I am to please, but it's another mark of progress I didn't even know I missed. I feel the same about the background music that plays in the lead-up to Resident Services construction, a track titled Prologue. It's one of my favorite pieces of music to come out of Animal Crossing. If you watch my Pocket Camp video, I'm sure you recognize it because its simple melody is both hopeful and melancholic. And once you cross a certain threshold in New Horizons, it leaves the game forever. It's replaced by new hourly music, a staple for the series, but I find the hourly music in New Horizons a bit overpowering, if not annoying. I think in some ways it's probably for the best. I wouldn't feel this way about Prologue if I wasn't forced to miss it, but as I'm using it now a 4th time on this channel, I'm beginning to wonder if it would ever grow old. New Horizons has a powerful, deeply longing soundtrack that begs me to feel rosy and sad about this game. My favorite part of the job so far is getting to listen to the soundtracks of these games in full, picking my favorites to accompany me in my video, and I'm embarrassed for choice in New Horizons. And yet, despite the wide and evocative OST, the somewhat shrill hourly music is what you'll be listening to the vast majority of the time you play. This isn't to say that there aren't winners there. Of course there are. Luckily for me, who enjoys New Horizons as a mid-morning treat, 10 a.m. is consistently energizing and forces me to feel a little playful. Despite my efforts, when I start my day, I already find myself glazing over Isabelle's announcements. I wonder if this isn't inevitable. There came a point before where I would skip through them all as quickly as I could, annoyed that I couldn't get quicker access to the short-term serotonin loop that was my daily pandemic Animal Crossing chore list. COVID and the specific social and spiritual suffocation it caused made my taste buds basically useless as I sucked every drop of escapist joy I could out of my Switch. Frankly, I imagine that this is the case for most people who had a high-passion relationship with New Horizons in those early pandemic years. It's taken a while to unlearn some of those bad habits. Slow dramas aren't meant to withstand the weight of feverish binge-watching. Otherwise, the plot threads and characters all get hazy around the borders and melt together into a vibe-based soup. Before I took this second look, that's how I left my feelings on New Horizons. A vague, slightly embarrassing stew of maladaptive obsession and isolation-induced mania. In that CNET interview, the director-producer duo seemed unequipped to talk about the impact Animal Crossing had during early 2020. In fact, the interviewer barely even gives a question about it, only vaguely gesturing at COVID. Animal Crossing has been a game with communication and connection as its core mission since its inception, and obviously that plays a large role in why it became such a singular piece of COVID media. But I think most of that has to do with its release date. A grimly happy coincidence, no doubt, but coincidence nonetheless. I don't think New Horizons is really made to bear the weight of all that. And honestly, because of the way I engaged with it during those years, this game always kind of left me with an ambiguous, sour taste that I couldn't quite name and couldn't quite shake. It's just about 6 years later, and I think it's just now that I can start working out the lactic acid that inevitably built up from so much collective astral muscle tensing. And I think part of that process has required taking the second look at New Horizons. It isn't fair that it had to try and fill such an impossible hole. During a typical early COVID day, when I had exhausted my island of all worthwhile activities, I would log off of Animal Crossing and likely then turn in my bed to my phone where I would scroll and look at all the things other people were doing in Animal Crossing. There was this feverish overtaking of all of my social media with island tours, decorating tips, custom patterns. Everyone was working together to suss out all the eccentricities and oddities of this game with the subconscious yet understood intent of soothing the global trauma of not knowing whether or not all of us would die from the ever-mutating plague. What game wouldn't stink after being used as a safety blanket for so long without break? I had nearly forgotten that Blathers doesn't move in with a completed museum, instead having an adorable research tent with charming props that I don't think you see anywhere else in the game. In order to hold back the creeping specter of rushing it, I held off on meeting the 15 donations required to upgrade his humble setup. Tucked away in the back corner of my island, slowly all of the fish, bugs, and fossils I found accumulated around him, like some sort of weird valley of tanks. My outdoor animal torture pavilion providing a funky visual reminder to be intentionally withholding with myself, and not let obsession take me there again. I'll get to it eventually needs to change into I'll do it if I want to. And I don't want the museum. Not yet. Even as of this writing, I don't want to sell the final plots of land to my final few villagers. Almost half of my island remains wild and untouched, a present for later. I need something to look forward to. I'm reminded of those dog bowls with the divots that stop a gluttonous pup from gorging until they're sick. And I understand that's why you can move only one building a day, why things are so expensive, why Mr. Nook always scrapes a little off the top for himself, and why so much gameplay is slowly unlocked. I don't think New Horizons does enough to stop the eager player. My hottest take being that I think they should punish altering time more heavily so as to permanently block the obsessive like me from ever touching it, but I understand that would be punishing all of you because I have addiction problems. That isn't to say I'm not willing to take advantage of things to make a buck. No, of course not. One morning I woke up and saw that my hot item for the day was the donation box. For those who don't know, Timmy and Tommy will buy certain items for double their worth, these options changing daily. And the donation box can be loaded up with 99,000 bells and sold back to them for double the profit. Cha-ching, bitch. However, and this is obviously by design, you can't just cheese it. You have to load the box up slowly, 1,000 bells at a time. This means that while it's guaranteed money, it's repetitive and frankly awful, and Lord have mercy I have to do it. And even though I likely won't have a luxury vacation in my near future, I did get to idly grind away at my task on one monitor while my beautiful housewives fought their endless battle on the other, all while I got to absent-mindedly and contentedly look out my back window while gorgeous, fat snow fell in decadent piles in my little garden. I got to play out little silly skits as my buddies arrived on my island throughout the day to make their chunk of profit off of this lucky event. And I got to end the day with roughly quadruple the amount of money I've ever had on hand in an Animal Crossing game. I'm still lucky. Money goes fast as hell in this one, though. Like I said, the game has a built-in gastric bypass surgery by way of exorbitant prices on just about every major thing. Any lingering guilt I had that my exploitative 8-hour shift stuffing money boxes might cheapen my experience was quickly dispersed once I realized that my hard-won fortune only afforded me one loan payoff and a small amount of the castle pieces I would need to make my giant evil fortress a properly realized dream. The biggest gameplay feature that separates both Pocket Camp and New Horizons from the rest is the ability to place items however you please outside, a freedom previously only really allowed the player inside of their own homes. This obviously cracks the seal on creativity wide open. While I still say that Pocket Camp's catalog of items still soundly whomps New Horizons any day, especially in terms of buildings, the obvious benefit here is that the entirety of the island's vast play space is yours to mold. In addition to smartly gatekeeping content through time locks, the deserted island motif also serves as an apt visual metaphor for the blank canvas that you're charged with filling. I'm going to use the phrase island dysmorphia here, and I know that seems dramatic, but I really think it's an inevitable side effect of a game like this one that insists on community but doesn't have much by way of group activities. While me and my friends always seem to have a fun time, I don't want to diminish the simple pleasure of running around and goofing off. There really is a dearth of meaningful multiplayer content in New Horizons. So this comparing of work is inevitable. Comparison is the thief of joy. I think this is corny, but it's also just straight up true and part of the consequence of a social game that's also part art software. It allows for genuine masterpieces that are shared and emulated, and there's a whole scene of content creators and inspo boards and a culture of cozy core, cute core, core, simple core islands. Every time I see a video of a jaw-dropping island, I see the same refrain in the comment section of, I'm not even playing the same game as these people, and my island's such a mess, and so on. And it's so silly to me. I don't think I've ever seen an ugly island. New Horizons looks so fucking good that you can really do just about whatever and the tidy art direction will do the heavy lifting. And B, I know it's stupid because I felt that way my entire first playthrough. It made me feel ugly, immature jealous that my friends had all these snappy, smartly put together islands, and instead of enjoying the fact that, duh, so did I just felt all insecure. So these comments give me secondhand embarrassment. That's like not even halfway close to the point of Animal Crossing. The point is the sharing. The point is showing how you did it. Also, 3.0 kind of has a bit of a fix for this. Recently introduced are Slumber Islands, dreamy freeform places where you and your friends can collaborate and build with an unlimited catalog of every item you've encountered. It's genuinely a hoot, and I've already learned major tricks by watching my friends work that I could never have learned just by touring their islands. Almost 2 hours went by without notice as we put together our outlandish group project. You can also enjoy the space yourself. I'm slowly putting together a replica of Pocket Camp's various areas on another one of my save slots. Why? I don't know. I really don't. It's just nice. The series has always been in desperate need of some sort of creative mode, and while the tools are cumbersome as always, there's something freeing about building without consequences while listening to a podcast or watching TV. There are some general rules, so to speak, with decorating. I learned through Pocket Camp that building your scenes from front to back and playing with height is the best way to make a striking shot. The great rolling log that allows for New Horizons' unique pop-up book top-down aesthetic has to be taken advantage of to sell the illusion, and it does help to think of your village as a kind of RPG starting town you're trying to make nice enough that no one ever leaves. No reason to overthink the basics of design there, after all. Buildings face the camera, and so should most things. The less literal you think of some of this, the better. This is the first time I've not called myself Zach. I mean, it is my name, but Snooze is too now. And I don't know, that helped me have a bit of a vision, because obviously if you're a guy named Snooze, then you gotta live in Dreamland, and yeah, I can decorate a place named that. Another fringe benefit of limited item selection early on is that I had to really weigh the Super Mario items as a core decorating option. Every Animal Crossing game has had some equivalent to this set, and while I've always loved it, I felt like me using it would be like almost too obvious. Oh wow, it's actually kind of sickening that you guys don't already know this, given I've now made hours of content for you all about Nintendo video games, but I'm like a huge Mario guy. Like, if you asked anybody who knows me, I'm pretty sure that's the one they'd cite as my longest obsession. I love Mario in a way that makes me seem silly, and in a way that likely would never make for any kind of compelling video essay, unless you'd like to hear me say, wow, I love my guys and they make me feel great in about 700 different ways for 4 hours. But I do love my guys, and they do make me feel great. And the large mushroom platform and small mushroom platform can be customized with so many cute colors. And as we've learned, any object with height is essential for a striking Animal Crossing scene. Sprinkle in a few floating blocks, a little classic AC whimsy, and a smattering of rainbow star pieces, and you got Dreamland, baby! Entering the zone is always such an interesting phenomenon in these kinds of games. As opposed to skill-based ones where the zone is more like finding some sort of ultra instinct, here it's like inducing some sort of waking daydream. As I place the castle walls of my slowly expanding home fortress, I suppose I do fancy myself a little bit of a Prince Cherry as I choose my theme. Some girls don't know how lucky they have it. A guy can have a pre-conquered castle and still get no bites. That's okay though. Next time he says no, it's gonna be his turn in the big iron cage. Oh! I think I was wrong in my other video when I said that Animal Crossing's loose interpretive idea of make-believe play doesn't have legs in a modern age. I don't think that's true. I don't even think that's true for Pocket Camp. While the novelty isn't the same as it once was, I still get the little cozy chilly willies every once in a while when I walk around my new rainy mall or watch my pals having a snowball fight and let the scene play out in my head. And while I don't think looks are everything for selling that, with the Switch 2 upgrade I really struggle to imagine a better looking version of Animal Crossing. Obviously higher poly counts, better anti-aliasing and all that will make it look better, but I mean even if I have dogged it before, the art style in New Horizons is undeniable. The lighting could use considerable work outside, but decorating inside is another story. Often I keep the lights low when designing. Light sources bounce maybe not realistically, but quite strikingly off of the surfaces in rooms. Sometimes I get that itchy, wobbly, heartbreaking feeling when I'm touring a space in the first-person camera mode. I remember being little and able to fully play pretend that I lived in these spaces, and what an odd new perspective to have on them. You don't want to add too many realistic textures, otherwise the abstracted dollhouse playset look wouldn't work. So I don't know if there's much else to do graphics-wise for Animal Crossing. I'm sure I'll be eating those words when the next entry is released in like a decade or so, but the game just looks good from pretty much every angle, no matter who's using it as a creative tool. That's a unique triumph that I think gets often overlooked. It begs you to wonder at its mysteries. I tell myself a little story this time as I fill out the fossil section of my museum. Life on their world started out much as it did on ours. We follow the tree of life on the floor and watch as creatures leave the oceans, grow mighty and large before being wiped out by a great meteor. You know this one, of course, but look at this diorama here, right before we enter the next room where the tree of life changes from how we know it. I don't think that's a zoomed out view of the impact that wiped out the dinosaurs. I think that's a second impact. I think that's the one that made it all change. You can see the tree slowly work its way through history until, well, I guess all us animals went and turned into weird little stuffed dolls. We're all people, obviously. We're odd little pod people with a society run on illusory Tanuki furniture magic, and Bob's a cat person, and Audie's a wolf person, and, well, I guess that makes me just a person. As for why, who knows, it doesn't matter, and that's the kind of stuff I daydream as I go about my mundane tasks. I don't really want there to be any kind of canon Animal Crossing world building. I think it's fun that everyone reaches their own conclusions about the game's baffling eccentricities. I've always had a fondness for gyroids. Well, hold on. Gyroids? I mean, yeah, probably they gyrate, but boy, I'm probably just gonna go ahead and keep pronouncing it gyroid because they're like little guys. If you don't like it, choke. I don't care. Gyroids are weird little statues that operate as public servant, musical pet, and parental nuisance. It isn't until this game that I bothered to learn of their origin, always assuming they were invented for Animal Crossing. They are based on Haniwa, a kind of terracotta figure from ancient Japan that would serve many purposes, but namely as markers for burial grounds. And to me, I find myself reading another little worldly story of why we don't find bones of the us kind of people, only dioramas. Why the little statues that once served as grave marker and shelter for the deceased now sing endlessly in an unspoken but innately known song when brought together. The colorful spirit of a spiraling society left behind and changed forever. A solemn melody to forever sing. Like so many things, Animal Crossing is also enjoyed as a daydream pacifier. Fun conceptually in some ways more than it is to play. Why do Nook's special islands sometimes look like he had them hastily put together right before I got there? That hominid skull, why do its eyes glow in the middle of the night? Is anyone else tuning into the alien broadcasts? If we all have a Tom Nook, is there really more than one? Is that what the Nooklings are? Do they fall off of him like little buds? These answerless questions that Animal Crossing makes you answer for yourself add that playground rumor charm that's genuinely hard to find. I see someone else has the gyroids calling home to their mothership, and yeah, of course, that makes sense too. I may think of them as the spirits of the last age of humanity, but maybe this strange world we find ourselves in is the result of some Plasticine alien invasion. Who knows? Maybe it is just some alternate timeline. They seem to have aspects of our culture. Look, they even seem to have Deep Space Nine. White Cisco! It seems there is some merit to the idea that our players are in some sort of human enrichment center, stuck suckling little drops of capitalistic conquests from our water bottle, running endlessly on our little wheel, and yeah, absolutely, of course, and duh, I think that might not even be subtext, but thank God for the work. I'm literally paying my real-world money to do it. You know, if you think about it, Mr. Nook is kind of just big Nintendo. I'll pay Mondo Moolah every time and like getting to bitch about it, if I'm being honest. Funny that even the villagers you find on their own little getaways seem to be over his wild ride, though. Introduced midway through its life, New Horizons gained additional content through the release of Happy Home Paradise. This DLC is a follow-up to the 3DS spin-off Happy Home Designer and is genuinely a meaty package. This DLC has its own campaign, having you build vacation homes for any and all villagers, slowly opening facilities on the island until you become a world-famous designer, culminating in a hysterical rave that I did not expect. Designing vacation homes and facilities gives you access to unlimited design tools, a sprawling catalog, and just enough direction with villager requests that I find myself spending more than 40 minutes on nearly every home. Like I've said, this game is a surprisingly fun artistic tool, and being able to spend the money you earn on exclusive premium furniture that you can bring home to your island proves for a rewarding gameplay loop. Same for the hotel and its souvenirs introduced in the 3.0 update. Not only do designing rooms for the hotel add more roaming animals to your island, fixing that strange feeling of emptiness that even a fully populated town can have, but it also functions as a preview of sorts for the kind of gameplay you can expect from the DLC in case you feel like taste testing before buying. Facilities such as a school, cafe, and hospital can be opened and designed on the Happy Home Island. And like Pocket Camp, characters will always be engaged in activities in these facilities, allowing for you to have more tangible ways to play pretend with your favorites. It begs you to question why no such facilities are present on your main island. For a game so interested in outdoor decorating, the options for buildings are few and far between. I'm at my most frustrated with New Horizons when I'm decorating outside. You are able to go into a top-down mode when decorating clients' yards in Happy Home Paradise. While most of the upgrades, such as partitions and soundscapes, are brought back to your main island, no form of top-down outdoor designing ever gets unlocked back home, or in the creative mode of Slumber Islands. I think I know why. The outside is rendered as that awesome rolling log, and while you're still locked to a grid outside, I understand how this unique view might complicate things. The yards in the DLC are locked at a fixed angle when designing. And if you ask me, it looks like they snap to a pseudo non-log mode when decorating. So I get why it may not work on your main island, and yet it's still unavoidable to not find it incredibly annoying. Pocket Camp also allows for outdoor top-down designing. So here in New Horizons, where you have to chop and screw the pieces to allow for the illusions of buildings, decorating from your pockets while trying to face the right direction and swivel this and push that while getting stuck here, it's It's really kinda awful. In some ways, I understand. Philosophically, the client's homes in HHP are one-time use, disposable, and having to manually lay down every feature of your main island is no doubt a large reason why it feels so personal and earned. But still, there's gotta be a better way. New Horizons' inventory system needs to go the way of the dodo. Even still though, with the DLC, I can squint my eyes and see that perfect marriage of Pocket Camp and New Horizons, a fusion hopefully more ironed out and complete by the time a new game is released. I'm glad to have not been too precious about my villagers this time. Part of playing Pocket Camp was getting to know and getting to love so many of the animals I had never given the time of day. You can goose your odds in New Horizons, going on mystery tour after mystery tour to try and find your favesies, but even that is highly discouraged. I scolded it for being arbitrary in the past, but you can only buy one Nook Miles ticket at a time because the game is actively trying to tell you that waylays misery, and you're allowed, but you're probably not going to like it. And I really didn't like it last time. So this time I have Nook Miles for days to spend on all of the expensive civic furniture I never could afford on my first playthrough. This time I just let fate choose my neighbors, and boy, I was giddy when one of my first random villagers was Coco. I think I do believe in RNGesus a little in spite of myself. She's an all-time favorite, so maybe luck favors letting go, and even if I was willing to go it without her, it feels so much more like home to have her with me. Easier to go somewhere new when you have a friend. Isn't that so funny? She's just a little clay bunny, and the game isn't so complex that she remembers me or anything, but I remember her. She's the best. She's one of those doodle absent-mindedly when I'm bored types of favorites. If this game had voice acting, that one kid from AP Bio would do her voice.
I like big books, and I cannot lie.
In some ways, she's just a symbol, and this odd relationship I have with the series allows me to engage in dangerous magical thinking, that my choices are special enough to reward me with her as friend all over again. But even though it was only random chance that brought them to me, I find myself falling in love with Ruby, and Audie, and Ketchup. I may have quote-unquote spent time with every villager in Pocket Camp, but I guess I really didn't get to know these three in any meaningful way. Apparently not really, because they're forever favorites now. Audie's an awesome DJ grandma, and I teared up learning about the real-world woman who she supposedly owes her name to. Only little Ketchup could run my village's quaint Main Street bistro. Serving condiments she no doubt squeezes from her own big-ass head, and really, I imagine any of these animals could be a favorite if given enough time. But then there is, of course, the elephant in the room, or rather, the Hello Kitty gorilla. Some of you might be seeing her for the first time, unaware like I was of the Sanrio villagers, accessible only through amiibo cards. When I found out about her, I knew immediately that I wanted her to have a pink fort on my Dreamy Island's beachfront neighborhood. But how do you get access to these special villagers? Well, you have to scan the Sanrio amiibo cards to get both the villager and a set of furniture based on their theming. How do you get your hands on the Sanrio amiibo cards? Well, I guess you could buy them at like a GameStop if yours happens to still carry them, but you're not. Your ass is buying them from Amazon. And if you're at this point, you're not going to buy a pack of amiibo cards to hope to get the animal buddy you want so that you can perfectly curate your village. And you aren't even just going to buy one of each for every villager you want. No, what you're going to do is give the Amazon Corporation even more money for a Flashibo or something similar so you can get access to all the content that Nintendo has paywalled behind their stupid little figures and stupid little cards. Stop it! Don't do that anymore. Stop putting content behind having to buy your dumb toys. It sucked with the e-reader and it sucks now. I guess I'm glad I have it. There are benefits to having a little thingamabob that can pretend to be any amiibo. Like, if I ever replay Breath of the Wild, I won't have to wait until the very end to wear my favorite duds, but this whole affair feels gross. I think it would even if I did buy the cards like Nintendo wanted and not a third-party device. I already had a Zelda amiibo, so it wasn't really a big deal that all the cool new Zelda furniture was locked behind scanning it, but it's hard for that not to taint my enjoyment. I do still enjoy it, though. I'm shocked that I feel the way I do when I put the new Tri headband on. Even after making a long video on it, I never thought I'd feel nostalgic for Echoes of Wisdom. But now it's a huge part of why I'm still doing YouTube, and once I put the little booger on my head, I realized I'm probably never taking them off. Are you kidding? Look at that little poorly drawn lemon. I've missed them. I miss getting to have a buddy run around with me like I can in Pocket Camp, and what a perfect companion for old Snooze Malone. It's another surprise and another delight in a game chock full of them. But in order to access it, you need to make one more transaction in a game that's already at about one too many. One of the reasons why Nintendo games never go on sale is that they ostensibly are always worth their full price. It's annoying, but it speaks to a kind of confidence in their works that is sometimes earned, even if that goodwill is waning. Major releases are so sporadic that their pricing is easier to digest, but that goodwill gets stretched as every release is treated this way. Mario something whatever tennis is already not worth $70, and that literally just came out. Come on, y'all. You know that. Everybody knows that. Even Green Toad knows that. Look at him. Well, okay, so maybe Green Toad doesn't know that, but like literally everybody else does. I wonder if it's going to shoot them in the foot long term. They should know they'd have my dumbass buying and playing and halfway loving their lesser third-party developed titles like Princess Peach Girl Boss if it wasn't $60 damn. That's too much. But I think New Horizons is worth full price. I think the $5 Switch 2 upgrade is okay. Here I thought the point of a new console was that it made games run better just by, being a $500 new fucking thing I bought, but, I guess what do I know? It seems like $5 is the exact amount that doesn't make me want to go strangle Mr. Nook in the street, so fine. I'm kind of out of options. A daily check-in game like this requires snappy load times, and the upgrade makes what was once interminable now a slight bother, so I guess $5 is fine. I think Happy Home Paradise is a must-buy if you're into the decorating aspect of New Horizons. Which, I mean, if you're at the point of considering the DLC, I imagine you are, but now I have to be real. At this point, we're talking $90, which ain't nothing. It's damning that the DLC has so many game-changing boons. At that price point, it can only feel yucky that they are paywalled. But I think it might still sound right. New Horizons is pretty stellar in its final form. But $90+ stellar? Honestly? I mean, to me, sure. I've basically hallucinated an alternate reality for a month to make a story out of the game, so I think there's a pricelessness it'll forever have as it's played a major role now in 2 eras of my life. But when they're still asking me to buy a stupid little toy or a stupid little card so I can decorate a vacation home for Isabelle, that's like beyond the pale. Value as dollar amount when applied to something like this is tough. Is it playtime? If so, I mean, I think some games are priceless. I've bought The Binding of Isaac in full, DLC and all, like 4 times now just so that I can always play it on whatever platform I have whenever I want. But something like Isaac is a forever game. Similarly, Mario Kart World feels way worth $80 plus its inevitable DLC. Because I already find it infinitely more replayable than 8 Deluxe and I've barely left one mode online. And it's clearly going to get the 10-year treatment like its older brother, so that's an $80 game to me. Otherwise, you end up incentivizing bloated 100-hour campaigns where a shorter, more tightly designed, and more replayable one might have more long-term value. So I have to consider the price with New Horizons. Here's the thing. I'll buy all this stuff and it'll feel worth it because at a certain point, I guess things like the Flash-Ebo are tax write-offs and it's my job, nay, my duty to really go whole hog in a game, but I'm the outlier freak. I shouldn't inform market trends. So I'm a little embarrassed to admit that my opinion here is undeniably biased and I might be the last guy to listen to on this matter. I'm too emotionally attached. This attachment is by design with these long-form series. Taking this retrospective, I'm always reminded why I have this attachment. I remember playing Animal Crossing for the GameCube as a young boy, and it was just the most recent in a long line of Playhouse dress-up games that the world made me feel strange for liking. Heed my warning. Don't make little boys feel odd for liking this kind of thing. Obviously because you should be nicer than that, but also because you might make those odd boys dig their feet in so deep they'll be in their mid-30s writing exhausting hour-long video essays on the merit of puiputend baby games. Let this be a cautionary tale for us all. While I'm embarrassing myself, here's another admission. When I saw all of those villagers running around and playing in the intro video, I gasped because, despite how corny this is, it made me think of all of you. I've never really had a lot of people to play this game with, just my close buddies, and I always only have a handful of those, so while we won't play with each other directly, I'm turning my playthrough of New Horizons into a home movie for you. I'm lucky enough to have this platform, and I'm also lucky enough to tour some of the amazing places you guys have made. I mean, what a joy. Thank you to everyone who submitted their dream islands. I've included the dream address on screen for any that I visited, and honestly, if you want to keep sending me them in the comments below, I'll probably end up checking your island out too. I'm always darkly struck by the fantasy of sifting through everyone's rooms after some apocalypse. So much is told through how people decorate their homes, and this is how I feel as I walk as a silent passenger through your paradises. I think that's part of why I find myself going so easy on New Horizons despite all of my misgivings. Its collaborative and social nature has let me make a type of connection I probably couldn't have before. It's gonna be a while before that glow fades, so it'll be a while before that old cynicism sets in again. That's okay, I don't want to be too terribly hard on it just yet. It still feels like a friend, and it still feels like home. Here's another admission. I've actually been delaying the making of this video because I'm trying to reach an arbitrary completion point before I share my island with all of you. It seems like I have to keep learning this lesson. It's funny to understand that this insecurity is ridiculous in my analytical brain, and also feel skittish about how incomplete my island might be by the time this video is out. I've been way more vulnerable on this channel before. I've unloaded much more personal things, but I'm nervous in such a different way this time. If you've invested enough time into an island before, there's a chance you understand what I'm talking about. But more than anything I've presented to all of you before, I really want you to like this art project. It's not done, not all the way, but it'll be a while before it's done changing, because it'll probably be a while before I'm done changing. And frozen where it is right now, it's in some ways more complete than it will ever be. So it's about time I put my pencil down. I'm realizing that I've almost induced that pandemic fervor again, rushing to put all the finishing touches on my island before showtime. And this is an undeniable flaw of Animal Crossings, this desire to have you come back every day, to obsess you. I think ethically it's probably not something you should encourage so rigidly, and I guess it really probably doesn't. It's a game just boring and uneventful enough that at some point most people stop playing. I'm not there quite yet, but I'm about at the point of taking it all too seriously. I sat out in nature for the first time in months today, the wild climate of Middle Tennessee bringing a warm, sunny day weeks after we were all encased in ice. And as I'm sitting, quite literally touching grass, I realize that despite how warm New Horizons has made me feel, my refound obsession with it has been standing between me and this. And I'm not sure if that's Animal Crossing's fault or mine, but it can't simulate the actual benefits of a life lived simply. My little village is going to have to be good enough. It's fine to indulge like this for now. Like Pascal says, if you enjoyed wasting your time, you didn't waste it. But I'm on the precipice of wasting it, robbing future me of a few more moments of delight by rushing like this, getting it all just so for opening night. I think it's time to call it. Like I said, I'm using pre-made assets designed to always look good. The work done by the designers of New Horizons is obvious, and it's clear that even with a smaller catalog, each piece was considered, and considered pretty comprehensively. But I still want my part of the presentation to be just right. I want you to feel how I feel when I walk around Dreamland. Do you see that my arrival has hit the island with a starry curse? The cutie baby rainbow road slowly spreading through the island like a viral plague? Do you see my evil fort and understand that I'm ruling Dreamland like an impish tyrant, reshaping it capriciously in my capricious image to a populace who is blissfully unaware of my rule and just happy to be there? I'm already nostalgic for where it was, and I'm already nostalgic for how I'm feeling here on the edge of a just-for-now completion. I can't keep pushing my video's release date one more day just to get one more little clip and one more corner dusted. It's weird having my homework now be both assignment and distraction. There's not a guidebook for how to do this kind of thing, so I'm hoping that if nothing else, my overindulgence helps communicate more clearly why I've changed my tune on New Horizons. I don't want to take too long, though. I understand completely how the cycle plays out. I'm still in the honeymoon period, and I want this video to be a message in a bottle from good old Blind Love Island to both you and future me. There's going to come a day when there's nothing else I really want to do in Dreamland. I won't check in every day like I have these past months, and those days between check-ins will turn into weeks, and then, well, if you played Animal Crossing, I think you know the rest. In a few years, though, if times get tough and I need another escape, I hope I find the courage to reset. I hope I remember that it'll actually cost way more to hold on to everything I've got, and the Deserted Island Getaway Package isn't a bad deal considering what I stand to gain. The only thing it's actually going to cost me is my time, and that's going to keep on rolling anyways. Woo, buddy, that was a long one. Thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. While I have you here, I'm going to forgo the obligatory call for liking and subscribing, though I do still hope you do those things, and instead ask you to please hype this video. I mean, only if you liked it, though. This is a feature that YouTube has been begging me to pay attention to, but I've been neglecting. If you're watching this video in the first week of its release, you have a chance to throw it some hype points. I think a couple chances, actually. This is something exclusively available to smaller growing channels like mine, and If I get enough of these points, I get placed on a weekly leaderboard, which seems a little duplicitous, but I mean, hell, I'll bite. This seems like a great way to get more eyes on my channel, especially if I'm trying to rub a few coins together over here. I've actually found a great new theme park channel through the Hype feature. Insightful theme park talk is one of my favorite genres of YouTube channel, and the homepage algorithm is so bad these days that it's haunting that with my interest, this channel is just now coming across my desk. So, I really appreciate your support here. It might make a significant difference for me, who knows? Either way, your engagement means the world to me. I think I'm addicted to making videos, so I'd probably just keep doing it anyways, but boy, talk about extra incentive, God bless you one and all. Next time we cover an Animal Crossing game, which will probably be a while, I'm going to go back to the OG. It's going to be an insane before and after picture comparing it to New Horizons so directly, but it's rich with enough oddity and eccentricity that I'm already excited to research it. I'm especially keen on reading about its development. The scant translated interviews I could find with New Horizons developers did provide some insight, but they didn't answer the fundamental whys of Animal Crossing's formula, likely because it's been so locked in since the beginning. So this next look promises to be quite enlightening, if nothing else. As for the next video, though, yeah, we're talking housewives, bitch. Salt Lake City, to be precise. Oh, my queens, my clowns. I can't wait to introduce you to all my ladies, and this is also going to serve as a general look into the Bravoverse, so to speak. I know it's not videos, James, but I promise it's still going to be fun. And I'm really ready to make a new kind of essay. And honestly, I'm really ready to let video games be hobby and not work for a month, so, you know. Well, jeepers, gang, that's really just about all I got. It's time I take my happy ass to bed. So, until next time, snooze out! Starting again from scratch, that's how I find myself feeling. Oh, no, all of that needs to be retaken. Ow! Mamma mia! Luckily, New Horizons. Did this ever start recording? Similarly, the cadence set by these Nook Miles tasks seems to be one informed by the looming shadow of the broader design principle. Woo! That's a fucking sentence, Zachary. Jesus! There's a surprising... Similarly, I access to the short-term serotonin loop. Whoa, serotonin. I guess I do my best work when I'm in my fucking underwear, Wallace. What are you gonna do? My outdoor animal torture pavilion, similarly, that doesn't even sound like a word. My full evil layer learned through Pocket Camp that building your scenes from front to back, I learned through because obviously if you're a guy named Suze and a guy named Susie, triumph that I think it's over and off. Damn, brother. Dream pacifier. Cunt funceptually. Yeah, put that one in your fucking blooper reel, idiot. Ah! Why'd Cisco? Surely one of those is good. Mama fucking mia, there's so much left to say. Ay, ay, ay. Woo! Done, bitch.